Hello and welcome to another morning update live on NTN. It's a rainy morning today, Wednesday, 30th June 2021. A bit of traffic along the John Compton Highway. Not sure what's happening further south. You could always chime in, let us know via our Facebook platform and YouTube channel as we're coming to you live on air and online as well. If you're joining us via these various platforms, good morning to you. Thank you for making this your morning station, your wake-up station. We welcome everyone in the diaspora, St. Lucians in the diaspora, as well as well-wishers globally who are looking on to see what is happening in St. Lucia post-COVID. And there has been a steady come up out of the slump that we've been in where the pandemic is concerned. COVID-19 management, the introduction of the vaccination program in St. Lucia has enabled us to move past the closure of society and reopening our various sectors. Most primarily right now is the tourism sector. We had subsector cruise, the resumption of cruise happening just yesterday, and also many persons who plan on visiting St. Lucia weighing in online on social media, indicating that they are excited to be able to visit the island destination once more. And we look forward to having you, I look forward to accommodating you with the resumption of cruise. We had the Millennium, the Celebrity Millennium just yesterday. We do have some of the sights and sounds recorded for you, so we're going to share some of the highlights of that for you this morning. Also, the construction of a new wing at the Vidbote Primary School soon to commence. That is the latest development coming out of the education sector, and members of the public are being urged to ensure preparedness for the hurricane season. As usual, we do have the latest figures coming out of the Department of Health and Wellness for the COVID-19 situation in terms of our latest cases, recoveries and vaccination figures to date. Another thing to note is the announcement by the Royal St. Lucia Police Force as at yesterday, Tuesday, the 29th of June, 2021, of the COVID-19 protocols for campaigning for this year. We know that the general elections is constitutionally due this year, and many organizations, many individuals, both party and independent candidates, candidates of parties have commenced their campaigning programs leading up to this national exercise. And the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, recognizing the need for some sort of order when it comes to the campaigning, did engage the Department of Health and Wellness, and we saw the engagement with stakeholders following the drafting of this document that is guiding not only the campaign but also the pre-election campaign, the requirements for political parties, independent candidates, should they have any intention to campaign along our streets in terms of motorcades and what have you. So I'm going to take a little bit of time this morning to get into what these guidelines are and to let you in on where you can go to get access to this document that has been agreed upon by the 3 registered political parties here in St. Lucia, as well as other stakeholders. We're talking civil society, etc., who have agreed to this document. And of course, it's not binding. It is subject to adjustment, constant review by the Department of Health and Wellness in light of the changing environment. We know even with our own general national COVID-19 protocols, it changes every now and then based on the COVID-19 situation at the time. Fortunately, we are enjoying a reduction in transmission here in St. Lucia, and so that has afforded us a bit of space. You would recall this past Friday, the adjustment being made to the protocols, primarily the curfew being pushed from the 9 p.m. to the 11 p.m., and we do hope that persons continue to adhere to the protocol. Don't get on the wrong side of the law. Every effort is being made to provide you with as many liberties as possible within the confines of health and safety nationally. So stay tuned to the program. We do have these updates coming up and more, some of the bulletin information coming up later on in the program for the next 30 minutes or so. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Oi, boss. No, sorry. Excuse me, boss. Can I please be excused to go pay my driver's license?
Okay, I have to do mine as well. I'll do it later.
Okay, I'll see you on the line.
This is Edgar. He's going on the line. This is Caleb. Caleb does not go on the line. He takes care of his transactions online. Caleb uses the DigiGov platform. With DigiGov, he can access and pay for government services using a computer, tablet, or mobile device. DigiGov allows you to apply for and renew your driver's and vehicle permits, submit registrations, and pay fees at various other government agencies. Simply get online and sign up for a DigiGov account today.
Sorry it took so long, boss. Traffic was hectic, line was long. You'll not make it today?
Make it? I'm done. Come.
Don't be like Edgar, be like Caleb. Take back your time, get off the line, and get online with DigiGov, serving people and businesses with that island love.
With all that's happening around us, simple adjustments are necessary to keep us all safe. When calling 911, we may need a little more information to deploy the right personnel and protocols. You may be asked about your travel history, signs and symptoms, contact and movement history, and whether others in your household are exhibiting similar symptoms. Please be patient and cooperative during this time to ensure you receive the best possible care while keeping our first responders safe.
Thank you so much for staying with us. If you're just joining, good morning to you. We are coming to you live from the GIS Studios Information Command Center, where we continue to keep watch over COVID-19 here in St. Lucia, as well as other developments coming out of the government of St. Lucia. St. Lucia is on the rebound. Our rebound game is strong. Cruise tourism has officially been reintroduced to the island with a cruise call by Celebrity Millennium just yesterday, Tuesday, the 29th of June. The return of cruise tourism to the island is indicative of the reinstatement of revenue of cruise-dependent income earners. Government officials and stakeholders were on hand at Port Castries to welcome passengers with grand fanfare and treats. We have Herma DeMarc with the details on this momentous occasion.
The Castries port lit up with fanfare as St. Lucia on Tuesday welcomed Celebrity Millennium to Port Castries, the first cruise vessel to the island since the halt in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The arrival of the cruise ship signals the reintroduction of cruise tourism to the island and, more importantly, the reinstatement of revenue for well over 1,000 cruise-dependent income earners. Celebrity Millennium called into port around 7:30 a.m. with an estimated 400 passenger capacity, and government officials and other stakeholders were on hand to welcome them. Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Honorable Alan Chasney, explained the significance of the reintroduction of cruise tourism.
We have been working with the cruise industry since March of 2020 and very actively to try to get the return, which was originally scheduled for October, November of 2020. So to say that a lot of work has gone into this is an understatement. I want to thank the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Tourism, and all of the stakeholders for their consistency, perseverance, and sticking through this. So today is the culmination of a lot of work and effort to see Celebrity Millennium coming back into our shores. And this again ahead of schedule. So this is a meaningful thing because of the persons that are impacted by the return of the ship. The street vendors, the taxi drivers, the tour operators, all who have depended almost exclusively on this sector have been impacted for the last 16 months. And while we have done some things to try to comfort them, it's certainly nothing can ever replace the income that they were generating from this industry. So this is a wonderful sight for them, and we are excited, to say the least.
Continuous efforts were channeled into the safe return of the cruise tourism to St. Lucia, with regular meetings with the cruise lines, handling agencies, and the locally established cruise committee. High-level meetings were also held with officials of the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association, FCCA, and a focus on safe resumption of cruise calls to St. Lucia. Meetings were also held with several cruise lines to finalize protocols that would guide the sector's operations while on island. The Prime Minister expressing gratitude To all stakeholders for their contributions, highlighted the importance of the return, as many individuals depend on the cruise industry for their income.
We've understood from early how the ships not coming in would impact a lot of people in St. Lucia. So that sense of urgency now is represented today. And we're just very excited that we're one of the first destinations to recommence services. It's the end of June, and we're looking forward, hopefully, to convince the cruise industry to continue to come into our ports even in the next summer. Because as you know, we pretty much only get winter tours, so we're trying to take advantage of this crisis and show that the Eastern Caribbean is a world-class destination on a year-round basis. But again, today's ship coming back means so much more and represents the hard work of the team in St. Lucia, the Ministry, the Tourism Authority, the Ministry of Health, and all of the vendors. I mean, I see Cox Company here today, and many of the other tours. And Foster Inc., all of them who have put this effort in to make this thing happen today. And again, I want to thank the executives from Michael Bailey, all down to the rest of his team for believing in St. Lucia and making this happen today. So,
to mark the momentous occasion, a plaque was presented to the captain of Celebrity Millennium, affectionately known as Captain Theo. Captain Theo also presented a plaque to the government of St. Lucia commemorating the inaugural Caribbean Comeback Call. Adding to the fanfare, there were also prizes to be won. The first prize went to a cruise passenger visiting St. Lucia for the first time.
And love St. Lucia! Never been? I'm so excited!
Minister for Tourism, Information and Broadcasting, Culture and Creative Industries, Honorable Dominic Fede, expressed elation with the return of cruise tourism to St. Lucia.
Oh, well, a tremendous day for St. Lucia. All the workers that have been out of work since the pandemic began. This really is an absolutely fantastic day for them. A lot of self-employed individuals, the vendors at the arcade, the vendors at the craft market as well. I really want to thank the Permanent Secretary and Beverly, the CEO of the Tourism Authority, for the work that they have put in. I want to personally thank the Prime Minister, who really has been leading this from the front, and the FCCA task force with the rest of the Caribbean. It's an absolutely amazing day for all of us.
Activity Manager Al is a born St. Lucian and has been working in the cruise industry for over a decade. He indicated that he is ecstatic that cruise tourism is making a comeback, having been out of work for some 15 months. Al said that his job is very rewarding and encourages young people to take advantage of the cruise industry.
I can't complain. Traveling the world, the salary is always something to talk about, so I'll not ignore that. The salary is really good. And meeting amazing people, networking. As an entertainer, I've networked with so many people to get opportunities to perform in Los Angeles, in Georgia, in Miami, in Europe. So it's just a blessing working on cruise ships. Especially young people, if you're not sure what you want to do, even if it's not a career you want to take up, I would employ any young person to just go to MAMPA. There's agencies down here that get you booked to go on cruise ships. Do it. It's a good way to make money if you want to go back to school. The money you make there, you can afford to go back to school. So any young person, I would tell them to go into it. However, if you're also into hospitality, it's definitely a place where you can be an ambassador for St. Lucia. Because that's what I'm doing right now. I've encouraged a lot of the guests to actually go on tours. And I always say, St. Lucia, I've done the entire Caribbean, and St. Lucia stands out. Honestly, St. Lucia stands out as one of the best out of them.
Cox and Company Limited's Chief Operations Officer Catherine Cooper expressed gratitude to all who contributed to the return of cruise tourism to St. Lucia. Cooper indicated that although the road has been challenging, Cox and Company Limited has been persevering and is glad for the return.
Our company, our staff, our tour guides, the drivers of the buses, we have not had any work since the middle of March of 2020. So today is an unprecedented day. I have been working in the cruise industry from 1984, And we have never gone through this sort of interruption in our business. However, Cox & Companies was started in 1926 by my grandparents, and we never stopped, and we're not going to stop now. We are back. I would definitely like to thank the Ministry of Tourism and all that they did to work with us to bring the ships back to St. Lucia and to help us to get ready. I would like to thank the Ministry of Health, Customs, Immigration, our tour guides and staff for everything that they did to make sure that today is going to be an excellent day and that St. Lucia can deliver.
The health and safety of St. Lucians remain of paramount importance. As such, safety measures have been put in place at the port. Karen Joseph is the Senior Environmental Health Officer of Port Health.
So this is our public health facility. This is part of, our mandate of, health security at our borders. And as such, our public health facility would screen everyone who's coming in. And of course, today, we're happy to have our first cruise ship. And of course, we actually achieving this mandate of screening everyone as they pass through our facility.
Continued calls with Royal Caribbean cruises to Port Castries are tentatively scheduled for July 13th and August 10th, 2021, while other cruise lines will confirm their itineraries in the near future. From the Government Information Service, I'm Humedi Mark reporting.
A move that portends well for our economy here in St. Lucia, the resumption of cruise tourism in St. Lucia, starting with the inaugural call there of the Celebrity Millennium. And we saw so many things happening. The passengers very excited, disembarking. Of course, kudos to the Ministry of Tourism as well as the other stakeholders involved in this reception program for them. And also we're hearing from some of the workers, the crew, that if this is something you want to consider, to raise money for you to return to school or to raise money for whatever goals you have in life, then definitely the cruise sector is something you can consider being employed within. And we heard from the Prime Minister there, also from Cox & Company, the Ministry of Tourism. So definitely it's a step in the right direction. Everyone is feeling good. And prior to this, there were several calls by the stakeholders anxious for the resumption of cruise tourism. And I think we have some 30 calls that have been scheduled for the season, most of them coming through between August and September, I think. So there is definitely much to look forward to for this cruise season. Do stay with us. We are due for another break. The time is 9:16. When we come back, we're going to get into the latest figures for COVID-19 coming out of the Department of Health and Wellness, as well as the COVID-19 protocols, specific COVID-19 protocols for the campaigning ahead of the general elections that are constitutionally due this year. So stay tuned for that and more coming up on the other end of this break.
Virus ready to harm us. Panic is not the answer. We can win this together.
Often use hand sanitizer. Better yet, use soap and water.
We must protect each other if we are to beat this corona.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. Be a soldier, together we can beat this corona.
So you don't become the next case. Avoid touching your face. I'm sure you've been told so. Handshakes and hugging are up. No.
Advice give you the please. Cover your mouth and your nose if you cough or sneeze.
Practice social distancing and avoid large social gatherings.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. St. Lucia, be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
For further information, please contact the hotline at 311 or the Bureau of Health Education at 468-5349.
What's in the food you're eating? Do you really
even know all the chemicals and hormones used to accelerate their growth. All the artificial flavoring, sweeteners and colors too. We consume and we don't spare a thought for the damage that they'll do. No, think about the children. Think about the children. How will we save them? Chemicals and GMOs are not the solution. Use organic and join.
Excessive agrochemical use, additives, and genetically modified foods are harmful to health and the environment. Join the good food revolution. Grow, buy, and consume organic. A message from Rise St. Lucia and the Ministry of Sustainable Development with funding from the GEF Small Grants Program, UNDP.
The good food revolution.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. Time now for the COVID-19 update out of the Department of Health and Wellness. So Tuesday, 29th June, we got word from the department of the confirmation of 8 new cases of COVID-19 from the Ezra Long lab. And these results were out of a batch of 195 samples that were taken between the 25th to the 28th of June. The samples were processed on the 28th of this month. These newly diagnosed individuals were seen as normal at the various community respiratory clinics island-wide, and of course they were tested, assessed, and pending the outcome they were asked to remain in isolation. And now we have had the 8 confirmed new cases. The arrangements are being made for them to be treated at the respiratory hospital in isolation, as well as contact tracing is also planned to be underway to track down any potential individuals that they might have come into contact with. A confirmation of the recovery of 5 individuals was also came through who were diagnosed with COVID-19, and this brings the total number of cases currently recorded, well, to date, right now, active cases that we have stands at 87. Presently, 2 of the active cases are requiring critical care at this time. Our thoughts and prayers going out to them over at the respiratory clinic. We hope that they do have a speedy recovery. The new cases bring the total number of cases that have been diagnosed in country to date to 5,292. Now, in terms of the vaccinations, you should be aware that the vaccination drive continues this week, and yesterday it was happening at the Darren Sammy Cricket Grounds as well as the Philip Marsler Grounds. And as of June 28th, that was Monday, we had 30,746 individuals receiving their first dose of the Oxford ASTRAZENECA vaccine. And of that group, 21,850 individuals have received their second dose. So today, Wednesday, the 30th of June, the health team is administering the COVID-19 vaccine, that is the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, at the Denry Mothers Preschool and the VG Sports Complex, catering to the general population, and by that we mean 18 years and older, for the first dose of the vaccine, as well as individuals who have become due for their second dose of the vaccine. If you are interested in getting vaccinated, you can go onto the website hmi.govt.lc to pre-register. Let them know that you're interested so they can gauge the number of doses that they bring with them to these sites for the administration of the vaccine. Also, you can just simply come through. If you have been sufficiently convicted, you are in the area, you're near VG or you're in Castries, you can take a quick bus as you would if you're going to pay a bill at Lucia. Just take a quick bus, come through with your identification card, and they will accommodate you, I'm certain of it, and also at the Denry Mothers Preschool as well. If you're going for your second dose, please ensure that you carry with you the vaccination card that they would have given you the first time that you went to get your vaccine. So when you got your first dose, you would have to receive your vaccination card, and they tick off your first dose. When you're going for your second dose, carry that card with you so that they could tick off the second dose, and that you can show as proof full vaccination against the COVID-19 virus. So please take note of this update coming out of the Department of Health and Wellness. I mean, significant stride being made in terms of our COVID-19 response here in St. Lucia from the onset. I mean, we were one of the nations immediately envied by the world because of our low rates of transmission. We hadn't had community spread well into the pandemic, and we did have our first, second, and a third wave of the COVID-19 situation, third wave of the virus here on island, and it has been managed very well so far, to the point that we are now enjoying a low rate of transmission here on island, affording us the opportunity to have adjustments being made to give more leeway to the population, including the curfew being pushed back from 9 p.m. to now 11 p.m. at night to 4 a.m. And this is definitely an indication that we are able to move about more, an indication of the reduced rate of transmission here on island, thus affording us the opportunity to move about more, have more freedoms. If you're vaccinated in St. Lucia, if you are fully vaccinated here in St. Lucia, there's more that you can do. And I hope that is also incentive for the individuals who are not yet vaccinated, thinking and contemplating. You will be able to get around more. Even for travel purposes, it will be much more convenient if you are fully vaccinated. In the meantime, the call is that we continue to adhere to the protocols, that we continue to abide by the basic infection prevention guidelines, recommendations that have been put out by the Ministry of Health. You already know them. It's been over a year that we have been going over it, so we just hope that you do what you have to do. Before I continue on to the COVID-19 protocols for campaigning for 2021, I just want to stick in there congratulations to all the students who sat the common entrance examinations yesterday. We know that you did a wonderful job, and we're just waiting. We're not even holding our breath. We know that you're going to do well, and we're waiting for the satisfactory to outstanding results come the 19th of July next month, of course. Moving on to the campaigning situation. We've so far seen campaigning has kick-started very strongly. We're seeing supporters of the political parties, independent candidates have been going out and about, engaging the communities, engaging the constituencies in their plans, what they intend to do if they are elected. Basic campaigning, and also a lot of fanfare happening with that as well. The motorcades, the processions, sort of a party-like atmosphere, I dare say. But we need to be very careful as we're proceeding, because it's different. We are entering an election that will be different in a lot of ways, unprecedented because of the COVID-19 situation. And we still need to, as I indicated, we still are at risk for transmission, high risk of transmission for COVID-19. We need to protect ourselves and our families while we do our advocacy and our work in favor of our preferred political parties and so on. So the Royal St. Lucia Police Force did recognize some of the potential risks associated with this campaigning. I'm sure you have seen on social media persons going out and about, engaging, not much based on what I've seen, and not a lot of precaution being taken when it comes to observing the 6-foot distance, etc. And we're not even sure who is and who isn't vaccinated to make the delineation. So the Royal St. Lucia Police Force did determine that something needed to be done specifically for this election campaign. And they engaged the Department of Health and Wellness in terms of putting together a draft that would guide the campaigning season ahead of the general election. And it has been agreed upon not just by the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, not just by the Department of Health and Wellness, the CMO, and you know, persons who have authority in that respect, but also the registered political parties, the independent candidates, and other stakeholders. We're talking civil society, etc., who've been engaged, and they've all agreed that this COVID-19 protocols list for campaigning for 2021 is okay, and it is something that this campaign season can be guided by. So the information, just to let you know before I get into it, this information is subject to constant review by the Department of Health and Wellness in light of the changing environment, no different to the national COVID-19 protocols that we have already. So political parties, persons attending the rallies, householders and campaign workers shall be in compliance with the protocols contained herein, as well as all applicable laws and regulations for the sector and for the country. Due to the high risk of transmission during the large campaign activities, activity limits for political parties are recommended to ensure adequate support for enforcement. So just to get into some of the things that have to happen in terms of the pre-election, the political parties, the administration of the political parties are responsible for designing their own COVID-19 action plan to submit to the Environmental Health Division for review and appraisal prior to the campaign period. And we also have the expectation that they will be able to provide personal protective equipment for their workers, personal protective equipment when they have their events, their activities. In terms also adding to the pre-campaign period, voter education. There's also consideration for a sensitization of communities, party supporters, and politicians. So they are expected to develop and publicize code of conduct for the political parties, setting guidelines and conducting campaigns that ensure that the message is clear, accessible, and frequent on campaign processes. Information on COVID-19, its modes of transmission and ways of combating it, following best practices in health literacy, short messages that use active voice, familiar voice, and culturally relevant visuals also incorporated. So the hope is that while this election campaign activity is happening, persons are also sensitized. During even the voter education, they're also sensitized on the importance of the best practice when it comes to averting COVID-19, risk of transmission, etc. Now we come into the campaign period. And we're talking small constituency office meetings in terms of planning, meetings that are not advertised, that are not public. There's the political party having their small constituency meeting in their office. In-person meetings should be limited and should be done virtually where possible. No different to what is being asked of the business sector. For in-person meetings, physical distancing must be followed, and that is a minimum of 30 square feet per individual. A wearing of appropriate face covering, all of the usual aspects in terms of ensuring we adhere to the basic infection prevention recommendations from the Department of Health and Wellness. And in-person public meetings, so we're talking about outdoor, indoor. If it is advertised that a political party has a meeting, it is expected that candidates and teams must ensure that all applicable sections of the COVID-19 Prevention and Control Act of 2020 are implemented. Door-to-door campaigning, that is another thing that puts people at risk, really. Candidates and teams must ensure that all applicable sections of the COVID-19 Prevention and Control Act are implemented. People who are conducting door-to-door campaign assignments by the constituency office, they are expected to practice risk mitigation measures to limit person-to-person interaction and mitigate risks from transferring leaflets and other campaign material. Wearing of the mask, appropriate face covering, and other protective equipment. Adopting ways of delivering material that reduce unnecessary touching. For example, leaving materials outside the door. If you have your paraphernalia, your t-shirts, your brochures for your political parties, and so on. In the case of outdoor open-air meetings and large public meetings, proposed meetings should be conducted within large open spaces. And for the obvious reason that you don't want to have too many people in a closed space, again, you increase the risk of transmission potential for that. Yeah. So candidates and teams must ensure that all applicable sections of the COVID-19 Prevention and Control Act for 2020 are implemented. And notice I have said that for the previous activities that are most likely to happen with this election campaign. Ensure that you abide by the main protocol, which is the COVID-19 Prevention and Control Act, and you should be okay. The rest is smooth sailing. So the wearing of the mask, social distancing, environmental sanitization, hand hygiene, security. Providing adequate security to maintain and enforce crowd control and adherence to protocols amongst followers. Providing washroom facilities, which should be manned and sanitized. Providing designated ingresses and egresses. So all of these aspects are critical when you're holding large outdoor meetings, political meetings. Motorcades. Organizers should reduce the need for in-person coordination by providing written or telephone directions in advance of the event. So if you want to let the public know about your motorcade, instead of going from house to house, door to door, see how you could make use of the Facebook, of the internet, the social media to get your message across. The media, the various television and radio stations, to get your message across, to let your supporters know that you will be at a particular place having a motorcade at a particular time without having to interact physically too much. And there are other expectations for the motorcades. The number of persons in the vehicle must comply with the COVID-19 protocols. The individuals are advised not to gather outside of their vehicles before or after the motorcade. So no bloco. No coming together and partying at the end or before a motorcade. Participants should remain in their vehicle during the entire event and not congregate outside. And in terms of meal services, if meals or beverages are provided, we know that the political parties would tend to ensure that their supporters are taken care of. If you are looking at meal service, meals, beverages are to be provided, but they should be pre-packaged to avoid, a buffet style situation, again, reducing the risk of transmission. In general, political parties must comply with all requisites of the existing COVID-19 Prevention and Control Act and its enabling regulations, provide instructions on health precautions for public meetings, marches, and so on. Please take note of this. Please take note of these, even procession debates and other mass crowd gatherings. These things should all be done within the confines of the COVID-19, the National Prevention and Control Act. Now, we're coming to national events, and I think that is something that is very important to note. There should be, at this point in time, no national meetings, national political meetings at this time, and that has been indicated by the Royal St. Lucia Police Force because it's too much of a risk at this time. However, you could have your large public meetings in the various constituencies in open air spaces, but no national meetings as we would see perhaps in the William Peter Boulevard, the Castries Market Steps. That will not be happening right now. Of course, this is subject to change based on the word from the Department of Health and Wellness. If you want to conduct a meeting, you want to have a meeting as a political organization or as an independent candidate, you are required to consult with the Commissioner of Police for a permit, apply for a permit, and any such application must be made by delivering it to the Commissioner of Police or to a police officer in charge of the police station that is nearest to the place at which the meeting will be held. So you need to have a permit for any open air meeting, any advertised meeting that you want to have as a political party or an independent candidate. You need to let the police know, let them know that you want to do this, fill out make a request for your, apply for the permit, and they will let you know if it can be done at that particular time. So I went over the marches and processions, applications for the marches and marches or exhibition. The same is applied. You need to seek permission from the authorities, the Commissioner of Police, for this permit. So please take note of that. So small constituency office meetings, there's no limit on the number of meetings. In-person public constituency meeting, there's no limit on the number of meetings. All meetings will require the prior approval of the police. National public political meetings or political rallies, as you would call it, no national public meeting or rally will be permitted during the campaign to reduce the risk of infection associated with major mass crowd gatherings, and this is consistent with the national protocols. So please take note of this specific protocol, specific to the campaigning period, and just to let you know, this document has been approved. It has been agreed upon by the registered political parties, independent candidates, among other stakeholders, including civil society and so on, Royal St. Lucia Police Force, the Department of Health and Wellness. And so we hope that everyone, as we continue on in this campaign period, we comply and we are adhering to the protocols that have been laid out for us, as well as the national protocols. It will be a good show for your political party. It will be a good show for your candidacy, that you are able to keep your supporters adhering to the protocol and contributing to the overall health and wellness of the nation. Please take note of these updates. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we get updates from the Ministry of Education as well as an admonition for the public to ensure that they are prepared for the Atlantic hurricane season. Stay with us.
We can win this war. Get vaccinated. We're taking our life back. Get vaccinated. We know what to do. Get vaccinated. COVID-19 we won't lose to you. Oh no. Take 2 doses. Take our life back. Time for a brand new day. Take 2 doses. Take our life back. To live and work and play. Take 2 doses. Take our life back. The health experts we trust. Take 2 doses. Take our life back. Vaccinate for you, for yours, for us.
Let's take our life back with a safe and effective ASTRAZENECA COVID-19 vaccine. The mobile vaccination drive is coming to you. Visit the Ministry of Health and Wellness and Bureau of Health Education Facebook pages for more information. Let's take our life back. Vaccinate for you, for yours, for us.
Get vaccinated.
This message is brought to you by the Bureau of Health Education of the Ministry of Health and Wellness and this station.
Thank you for staying tuned. And just to mention that the COVID-19 protocols for campaigning for 2021 took effect Tuesday, June 29th, 2021, following the announcement by the Commissioner of Police. Moving right along, time is against me. The construction of a new wing at the Vidbute Primary School is being seen as a welcoming addition to an institution which has served the community of La Clary and surrounding communities for decades. We get a report from the Ministry of Education's Chris Sackney.
The Department of Education, Innovation and Gender Relations, under the Education Quality Improvement Project EQUIP, broke ground recently for the construction of the school block, which will comprise 3 stories, with the 3rd and 2nd levels, each housing 5 classrooms, with accompanying male and female washroom facilities. The ground floor will serve as an open breezeway with male and female bathroom facilities. Parliamentary Representative for Castries North, Honorable Stevenson King, in whose constituency the school is located, says he has advocated for the school's upgrade for many years and thinks the new wing to be constructed will add quality to the instruction received by students and boost their ability for higher education at secondary schools of their choice, some of which are located within the district.
I believe we're on the home stretch. On the home stretch to the finish line, to ensure that those who are here now, who are students and who are participating in this exercise, can associate themselves with a vision for education in this country, a determination for better education, better school facilities, and the fulfillment of an education institution that can continue to participate in one of the more, if not the most successful education district on the island by having the cream of the crop in secondary education and the cream of the crop in primary education.
The sod-turning ceremony conducted by the government last week follows on the heels of another conducted just over a week ago for the construction of the Laguerre Primary School. Minister for Education, Innovation, Gender Relations and Sustainable Development, Honorable Dr. Gail Rigobert, says the ministry is actively pursuing the overall transformation of the nation's education sector in order to make those who benefit from it more globally competitive.
While many important determinants of effective learning are beyond our systemic control, it is imperative that we collectively optimize the effects that we can control. One undervalued yet key determinant in fostering students' achievement in the physical learning environment or the quality of our school plans, which impacts upon student morale and teacher commitment.
The project also provides enhanced parking facilities for staff and visitors, upgraded water storage capacity, and an improved sewage solution for the entire school. The contract for the unit's construction has been awarded to Construction and Industrial Equipment Limited (CIE) at a cost of $4.5 million EC. Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Honorable Alan Chasney, told students gathered at the ceremony to embrace their weaknesses in order to overcome them and excel in their education like many before them.
You must embrace failure. You must embrace an idea and believe in it until somebody proves to you that it's not true. But now your power of knowledge becomes greater because you've learned firsthand. This is what this new smart school is all about.
Government will break ground for the construction of a new unit at the Gordon and Walcott Memorial Methodist School on Thursday of this week. The contract for the unit's construction has been awarded to Prudy's Construction Services Limited at a cost of 6.5 million EC dollars. From the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Education, Innovation, Gender Relations and Sustainable Development, I am Chris Satney reporting.
Thank you, Chris, for that report. And finally, the St. Lucia Meteorological Services indicates that moisture and instability associated with an approaching tropical wave, together with a low-pressure center, is causing cloudiness, showers, and isolated thunderstorms over the Lesser Antilles, and that was Tuesday night into Wednesday. The system is about 750 miles east of the Lesser Antilles and is moving westward near 23 miles per hour. Some slow development of this disturbance is possible later this week and this weekend. A second tropical wave located over the eastern tropical Atlantic is moving westward near 21 miles per hour. Additional slow development of this system is possible during the next several days. The public is reminded that St. Lucia is currently in the hurricane season and that the necessary steps must be taken to ensure safety and preparedness in the event of a hurricane. The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, advises the following. So before the hurricane, ensure that you know the emergency shelters in your area. Trim overhanging branches from trees around your home. Develop an emergency communication plan. Secure buildings by boarding up windows and doors. Storing valuable documents in a waterproof container or a Ziploc bag. Develop a family disaster plan. Have a disaster kit or disaster supplies on hand. Have indoors any loose outdoor objects. Place indoors, any loose outdoor objects and secure those which cannot be brought inside. One must ensure that the disaster kit that you have includes water, non-perishable food items, flashlight, batteries, portable radio, first aid kit, essential medicines, change of clothes, masks, sanitizers. During a hurricane, individuals are advised to listen to the radio and or television for hurricane updates. Stay inside, away from windows or glass doors. Avoid open flames such as candles and kerosene lamps. If power is lost, turn off major appliances to reduce the power surge. After a hurricane, individuals are advised to not go outside until the all clear is given from the authorities, that is NEMO, and they can issue the all clear order. Beware of outdoor hazards such as down fallen trees and broken power lines and report them to the relevant authorities immediately. Avoid flood water because it may have harmful contaminants and dangerous debris. Please take note of these updates. We're smack dab in the Atlantic hurricane season. It's a rainy day. No greater reminder, no more outstanding reminder that we need to get our house in order to protect ourselves and our families during this time. It's all the time I have for now. My name is Jessie Leon signing off. We do hope that you have a good day. If you are at home snuggled up, or if you are on the job, you are at school preparing for examinations for end of term, whatever it is, we hope that you are keeping safe and adhering to the protocols. Do enjoy the rest of your day and stay tuned to NTN for more programming out of the government of St. Lucia. Goodbye.